Are you ready to learn some more about the English present tense? In particular, today we're going to discuss the present simple versus the present continuous. What's the difference? When do you use one or the other? Let's find out. We'll start with the present simple. So there are a few situations where you might use this. Number one, things which are permanent or last for a long time. For example, I live in London, Usain Bolt is fast. Things that are facts or things that you believe quite strongly and permanently. That word again. For example, bananas are yellow, bananas are delicious. Things which happen regularly or habits. For example, she plays the guitar or the sun rises every morning. Things which happen in a film, book or play. For example, in the film they go to New York and they meet her brother. And finally, things which happen in the near future. For example, I leave at 8 p.m. tonight and I arrive at 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. So how do you form the present simple tense? Well, there are two parts to this verb structure. Number one, you need a personal pronoun. This could be I, you, he, she, it, we, they, or it could be more abstract, such as a name, a place, or a thing. This personal pronoun or thing that you have is what is doing the action for the verb you want to talk about. For example, I eat, you drink. Number two, the second thing in a present simple verb structure is the verb itself. No surprises. In the present simple, the verb is written in its standard form, without the infinitive to that you might see in certain vocabulary or grammar books when listing verbs. So if we look back to our examples, I eat, you drink. There we go. We've got our two parts as discussed. But there is something to remember here. Let's carry on with eat and talk about different people. I eat, you eat, he eats, she eats, it eats, we eat, they eat. What do you notice about those ones in the middle? He, she, it, or the third person singular pronoun, if we want to get technical, have an S added to the end of the verb. This happens for almost all verbs in the present simple, but there are a few verbs we need to think about more carefully. Let's start with go and do. These two verbs add not only an S for he, she or it, but also an E before the S. There is one more thing to think about when it comes to adding an S or an ES, and that is if the verb ends with a H. For example, finish, wash, brush. All of these verbs would add an ES to the end if you talk about he, she or it in the present simple. And of course, as you learn, the more English that you learn, to be and to have are slightly different again. Here's how we talk about have in the simple present. I have, you have, he has, she has, it has, we have, they have. So, as you can see, it's he, she and it that are being different again here. But something even more different happens when we talk about to be. Here's what we say. I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, we are, and they are. So we have three words to think about here. Am, is, and are. Let's move on now and talk about the present continuous. So to begin, when would you use the present continuous? We use the present continuous to talk about things that are happening now. For example, I am teaching, you are learning. You are watching a video, I am talking to you. Can you hear the difference between present simple and present continuous already? Things that have been happening for some time and are still happening now and maybe in the future as well. For example, I am training for the Olympics, or they are studying to be doctors. This isn't just things that are happening right now, but something a bit more long term. Things that have started in the past are happening now and continuing to the future, but not something that is permanent. And that leads us to the next point. We use the present continuous for things that are temporary. Now we can begin to understand the difference between present simple and present continuous. Remember how we said present simple was for permanent things? Well, if something is not permanent, aka temporary, then we use present continuous. For example, we are staying at the Hilton Hotel, or they are living in tents after the storm. You're not staying in the Hilton Hotel forever, and they're not living in tents forever. So this is a temporary thing, and we use the present continuous because of that. Another similarity between the present simple and the present continuous is that they can both be used to describe events in the near future. For example, earlier I said I leave at 8 p.m. and I arrive at 3 a.m. Well, we could also use the present continuous here. I am leaving at 8 p.m. and I am arriving at 3 a.m. That's absolutely fine. And finally, the present continuous is used to describe things in photographs. For example, in this photograph, my mum is standing next to my brother is sitting next to my sister. You get the idea. So, how do we form the present continuous? Well, unlike the present simple where we had 2 things to think about, here we have 3. We need, number 1, that personal pronoun or the name, place or thing that is doing the action. Number 2, we need the present simple of the verb to be. Do you remember we saw this earlier? I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, we are and they are. Remember? That is the second thing we need. And finally, number 3, we need the verb with ing on the end. For example, eating, playing, going, doing, etc. Let's look back at a couple of our examples of the present continuous to see this structure. I am teaching, you are learning. I, you, the personal pronoun. Am, are, the verb to be in present simple. And teaching and learning, the ing form of those verbs. So you see, it's not so bad, but there are, of course, a couple of things to remember here. In particular about the ing first of all. If the infinitive of a verb ends in an E, for example, dance, then that E is removed before adding the ing. So we spell the word dancing like D-A-N-C-I-N-G without the E. If a verb ends in what's called a short consonant, then you double that last letter. For example, run, running. In running, we spell this R-U-N-N-I-N-G, whereas run on its own, R-U-N, just one N. That sound of the N in run is very short sound, run. It's not run, it's run. Very short, and that's how we know when to double that last letter. And the final thing I want to mention about ing verbs is that if the verb ends in ie, that gets removed and replaced with a Y. For example, lie, L-I-E, becomes lying, L-Y-I-N-G. The other thing to think about when it comes to present continuous is that the personal pronoun and the verb to be can be boop, put together. For example, I am becomes I'm, you are becomes you're, he is becomes he's, she is becomes she's, it is becomes it's, we are becomes we're, and they are becomes they're. So if we go to our first examples again, I am teaching and you are learning, we can also say them like this. I'm teaching, you're learning. And they mean exactly the same thing. This same pattern of shortening to be with the personal pronoun can still happen in the present simple. For example, I am tall or he is short can be I'm tall and he's short. Absolutely no problem. You've got this. If you're ready for some more, click the link in the description below to download your free English present tense workbook. And can you think of some examples? Write them down in the comments below and I look forward to reading them and seeing your English practice. If you're ready to learn even more, then why not consider English classes with us here at Lindsay Does Languages. Katie, your English tutor, is ready and waiting for you. Click the link in the description below to find out more. And as always, don't forget to subscribe for regular language learning videos. I will see you very soon. Thank you. Bye.